Oh my lord, who would have thought? Who would have thought? The year 2025, year of our Lord. Guess who's back? It's me. Oh, it's nice to be back though. Nice to be back on stream. So I'm going to try a new stream setup where I'm not using headphones because I want to look cool. Don't want to look like a dork. And yeah, this is the way it's going to have to be. If I get something wrong or if I don't hear anything or whatever. Why is the screen so dim all of a sudden? Uh-oh. It's already going south. It's already going south. I got to figure out how to turn the TV up brighter. 120 FPS. That's pretty ambitious. Dark room mode, level 1. What is that? Off. All right, we got it. We got it. It's bright enough. Whew. I gotta get back into the thing. I gotta get back into the swing of things. First of all, let's share the link with the bros. And we're in. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's been a minute. Happy to be back. Check it out. New studio. It's nice. It's overkill for how bad this stream is, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy you're here. Today, quick backstory. Mats and I, yeah, by the way, if the music or if the audio is ill mixed or anything, I can't hear it. You're going to have to let me know. Back when I used to use headphones, the music was very loud in my headphones, but it seemed fine for you guys. So I tried to switch it up to make it feel a little bit more, I don't know, accurate, better. So for now, this is going to have to be the setup. If it's wrong, if it sounds like shit, let me know in the chat. I'm reading the whole time. If you have any questions or anything, also let me know in the chat. If you didn't manage to catch it live and you want to be here live, I don't have a schedule. Not yet. So, sorry. You might be SOL. For now, happy you made it this far, at least. I will be uploading videos every now and then. So, let's see. This is the photo I used as a thumbnail. It still is it's hard for you guys to see, but the TV is not very bright. All settings. We're just gonna hang out for a second, let it breathe. Picture mode, advanced settings. Where do you think the brightness is? There you go, I found it. Haha, Gary's here. Gary, good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in. Yeah, there you go. I fixed it. Okay, cool. So, TV's fixed. We're ready to edit. Oh. Greetings from work. I will spam here so I can trick the algorithm. I appreciate that, Gary. And work should be here, man. You should be in the studio. Yeah. It would be nice. We need to get everybody hanging out in the studio at once or together at some point. It's too infrequently that happens now. Normally it's just Kai and I. The two Kais. Kai and Kyle. Yeah, so here's the photos. I'm going to run you guys real quick through. I haven't looked at them at all. I've only looked at this one because this was going to be the thumbnail for the stream. I already see many things that I hate, but I did a quick edit and it looks like this so far. So, the car is a 2017 BMW M2. The BMW M2 is fun. Yeah, I had a blast. We're going to make a full video on it. Mats is working on it. Not as we speak, but soon. And then we're going to upload the full video driving, kind of behind the scenes of shooting. Yeah, just vlog style shits and giggles. And we'll give that to you guys as soon as possible. Because I want to get back into this YouTube thing. I'm having a blast. I miss it a lot. Gary, I am serving rich for now. Soon they will serve me. That's fucking right. That is right. No, you will always be serving the rich. Whether or not you'll serve them food or photos, so that's kind of up to you. But we all bow down to the rich. It's what makes us rich. Yeah, cool. Let's take a look. First photo. Sweet photo, Kyle. Fucking nailed it. Sick. I'm just gonna go really quick and sort through them. These are kind of like BTS. While Mats was rigging, I just pulled over and yeah, shot some photos at the gas station. Hey, Mats. Mats is... Okay, I'm going to read Mats' comment in the intonation in which he wrote it. It says, I'm transferring files as we speak. Oops, caps lock. Yeah, well, you tricked me into reading it that way. Gary, food for now, bro. If it would be photos, I would be there sneaking behind the curtain. One day. The goal is to have, like, guests. It'd be so much fun to have you guys just pop in and chill. Open a beer, too, while we're hanging out on stream. I'll show you guys my sorting process, by the way. Yeah, more grain. The sorting process is as follows. I have 3 stars that I can give max. Those are for finished edited photos. 1 star for photos I should take another look at, and 2 stars for photos that I have to edit and I haven't edited yet. So I'm going to go through and give everything 1 star at first that I think should be looked at again. Some behind the scenes stuff. Mott's rigging up. Kind of fun. A little shout out to Tilta and Black Magic. That could be artsy, maybe. Yeah, now we're talking. A little bit more character. A little behind the scenes. This is one of the angles we had when we were filming. Mount the camera straight in the middle with a 14mm ultra wide. Get the hands, get the road, get the trees going past the window. Yeah, get some action. I'm excited to see that one, actually. We have like 40 minutes of footage. Do these need to be edited? No. Will they? Yes. And here's where we got to the spot. So the first few photos I kind of took frantically because we had this fog. And I wasn't quite sure how long the fog would last. Gary's got to go. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. And Gary, there will be a ton more, so I want you in this chair next to me, co-hosting at some point. It'd be fun to have like the driving simulator attached to this, so we can go back and forth between me editing and a guest driving. Mats is in the chat, the creator, the man himself, this guy, looking handsome, typing handsome now. So when we first got to this spot, there was this fog laying over top of the water, and it was moving so fast and it was so sunny that I was scared it was going to melt away immediately. So before we managed to film anything, I took a few photos. The car is incredibly dirty. You can see streaks on the window and stuff. So it might be good enough. I mean, on Instagram, nobody's going to notice. So I'll save these just in case because it's at least something. Moving around the car a little bit, looking for that hero shot. Everything's shot at f8, if I'm not mistaken. So there's not too much to worry about in terms of focus. These were all shot, by the way, on this camera. I'm going to back it up so you get the full experience. It's the Sony A1 with the 28-70 G Master from Sony f2.8. Yeah, I'm going to use this setup for 99% of my photography from now on, so get used to it. It's made me the laziest photographer in the world. I talk about that a little bit in the film. Yeah, you'll just have to see it to find out. Oh, I forgot to put my hands behind it because there it is. Hey, it actually like kind of worked. Grabbed the focus immediately. All right, I made fun of the influencers, but they were right. Beauty influencers always do that. They hold up a product and then they put their hand behind it. Mats and I kind of agreed that it was to help get the focus on the product, but I don't know. Just get a better camera. This angle I kind of like because the line is like perfectly horizontal and perpendicular to the edge of the photo. So I think it's kind of neat. And now we start getting into a few more detail photos before we cleaned the car and then went back. Head-on shot. I don't think this is nearly as good because of all the dust. And you see where we mounted the... Yeah. Not nearly as good. A little bit too wide and creepy, maybe, but I'm going to save it just in case. I thought I was being creative. I tried. It didn't turn out very well. I don't like the tree being in the bottom corner. I think it distracts. So now you see the fog is lifting. You see how quick that was. And the car is a little bit shinier as well. The TV, I've noticed, is a little bit darker than my MacBook screen, so you're just going to have to bear with me if I overexpose some photos. Just kind of is what it is. It's part of the fun. So here I went back to that head-on shot. Kind of cool from high up. You get a bit more of the sense of like the shoulder width of the car, which is nice. Makes it feel a little bit more grounded and flat on the road. It looks very dark on stream. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's... I think I just shot the photos very dark as well. Yeah, f8 with a polarizer is typically ambitious, even in broad daylight. So there's the final... I mean, that's not the final edit. That's just the edit I did for the thumbnail. So that's a edit. But I think I'm going to base a lot of the edits off of that. So it will be brighter. I promise. And now I'm just going off immediate feeling of the photo. Look at this. Look how creative this is. Huh? Your boy is artistic. Artistic or autistic? I've yet to decide. One or the other. Maybe both. Maybe both. Isn't that kind of like mutually exclusive from what I know of autism? I don't know. I don't know. Mats, how's the sound level on the music versus me talking? Does it sound okay? Because I haven't changed anything since last time we checked. I tried head on again for some reason. Third time's the charm. Perfect on my MacBook speakers. Okay, cool. And you see the latency is pretty quick too. That's nice. By the way, 90% of the reason that I'm doing the streams again is because I got a new MacBook Pro and it's fantastic. Can hear you fine. Music is chill in the background. Nice. It's nice in person too. It's a good level. And if I want, I can just turn down the speakers separately. So there's a lot better than having to wear headphones, I think, for the final product. Couple verticals, you know, for the gram. Went back to that high up once we had a cleaner car. Hoodlum. Oh, look at that. We forgot to wipe that down. Or I did. I didn't clean the car before I returned it. Hopefully he's not too disappointed in that. I also didn't get a chance to fill it because the road was closed going to the gas station that I wanted to go to. So I gave it back to him with half a gas tank. That was a oopsie. I told him just let me know and I'll pay for it. But yeah, a little bit of ill will. Ill Will, by the way, if that hasn't been the name of a Will Smith album, it should be. I'm proud of myself for thinking that. I might just have to exit to him, tweet it to him, whatever. Here's the exhaust. The exhaust on this car was pretty special. It was a pretty like low spec M2, just a driver's car, really. But one thing it did have was the M Power or M Sports exhausts, whatever they call it. It looks like carbon fiber and titanium. Pretty cool. I didn't realize how like rough the carbon fiber edge was though from factory. It's kind of interesting. It is a factory exhaust. BMW did put it on the car, and it had this whole like startup system. When you got in the car, you had to press a trigger underneath the steering wheel, and then you had to start the car, and then you had to press like this one remote two times. It was complicated as hell. But once it was on, it was super loud. Super duper loud, actually, some might say. There's a house. Just a cool house. Nice little chill place where you can vibe while you park your BMW M2. This location was kind of cool. We've used it before with, funny enough, BMW. When we shot the M5 CS, we parked it there, and it was, yeah, pretty cool. It's like a helipad in Drobak by the water. And it's pretty clean, like a lot of the reflections on the car. Maybe not from this angle because it's pointed towards land now. But if you point the other way out towards the water, the reflections on the car are pretty nice and clean. It's not a bad look. So here's some verticals that I'm probably not going to use too much of. I just felt like guilted into shooting verticals. I felt like I had to for Instagram, but I always regret forcing the vertical photo. If the like spot and the setup calls for a horizontal photo, and then some voice on the back of my mind goes, you know what, Instagram's gonna like this too. It's never worth shooting that vertical because I end up having to zoom out and the photo becomes like distorted. Like you see, this was shot at about 50 millimeter, which is funny because I got rid of my 50, which I use 90% of the time. Got a 28 to 70, and I just leave it at 50. And it looks really good. It looks really accurate. And then you get to the verticals. This is also at 50, actually. I backed up a bit. But it still feels like stretched. There's too much information on top and bottom. It's not a good photo. Maybe if I stood up taller, it would have been better. Like this. It's kind of interesting. Sometimes I'll go back and forth between black and white just to see the balance of... Like, it's really hard to tell whether or not this blue on the water is darker or brighter than this blue, or, like, these colors in the cars are horizontal. This is true. Photo should be as well. It makes sense to me. Can't argue with that logic. Although this is not too bad. I'll mark it just in case. Photos like this for details work pretty fine in vertical, I think, because it gives like a lot of room for the photo to be filled up by the car itself, really. It becomes the background. Polarizer, shift, moving it around to see what works. This probably works better. But the tires feel too dark, and since they're not perfectly clean, it's, I don't know. Good enough. Kind of nice, vibing, ambient photos. Once when I was running around filming some B stuff with your camera, I got this shot with a boat. I had a boat right here, kind of like driving through the frame, and it was so clean that I had to go try it myself, but there was no boat. Regardless, it's kind of cool for like an Instagram carousel or something. I don't know. Or if this was a campaign, just like the background. Dope. It is dope. I'm pretty proud of some of like the shots that I found. I'm not very good at filming, but when the camera doesn't move, funny enough, it becomes easier for me. Yeah. Interior is the only interior shots that I got because the car is privately owned and I didn't want to... I don't know. There's just something not so fun about... Was I sitting on a golf ball? When I sat down, one of my nuts got stuck under my leg and it made this. That made me laugh more than it should have. It's funny to me though. And now I'm staring at the chat waiting for someone else to laugh. Now I can't not see it. Yeah, it works okay in vertical, but it's not great. Just because this direction is... I tried to overexpose it so you couldn't see much in that direction, but... Not a huge fan. And then last detail, the badge, M2. Yeah. And then we go back to same shots, the hero shots, but now we have no smoke in the background. So we have the option of using these instead. And I don't like them as well. I think with the haze in the background is a lot cooler. Or the mist. Whoa. You see the massive difference a polarizer makes? So this is the polarizer put on the flat surfaces, like the ones sloping up away from me. And then this is with it on the side surfaces. And what a massive difference. So in post, you can combine, I don't know, this background with this car. And you get like a pretty cool product. Also shot at 50 millimeter. Exactly. That's impressive. That's like filling up gas and stopping when it hits 500 kroner. Like exactly on the dot. Satisfying. So there we go. There we have a few. And then I went back to this angle thinking I could do it better. And I don't think I did, but just in case. Okay. There we go. We got a bunch. Let's familiarize ourselves with this color grading because I think it's what we're going to use. Oh. Oh. It's been a long day. It's been a very long day. Let's see, how long have we been going? I can't tell. Oh yeah, 20 minutes. Not so bad. We're getting there. All right. So we just gotta pick a photo and start, really. Yeah. I kind of don't want to start with one of the heroes. You know what? Let's start with one of the head-on stuff, just so we have something to base it off. So, step one. Even though the lens is fantastic, it's very ambitious in design, so I'm going to enable profile corrections, and now Lightroom recognizes it, which is nice. It's a pretty... I mean, the distortion is one thing. I don't care too much about the distortion. I don't think it messes up the photo, but the vignetting, like brightening up the sides here, I think it is worth doing always. Then let's get started. I'm going to try to lift the exposure a little bit, brighten it up. The blues I think are too punchy, so I'm going to correct the colors a little bit first. Lift the blues in terms of brightness a little bit. If there's any purples, I don't really want there to be, so I'm gonna make them match the blue, and then same thing. So now all the purples in the photo have turned to blue, and they've been treated the exact same way as the blues. And I don't really see any purples, so I think we're okay. The ground is pretty yellow. I don't like that. I wish it was just neutral. You see, that's a massive difference. And then once again, I'm going to brighten that, just so it adds a little bit more to the texture, because the highlights get raised a little bit more. So you get this like pebbly kind of grainy texture in the ground. Like if you look at this one, for example, right here, all the way down, it's pretty flat. And then you raise it all the way up, and then it's bright again. And I think that grain is kind of cool. I like it. I've noticed that it didn't touch this part of the ground. I could go in and mask it, or I could just be lazy and drop the oranges. Nothing else seems to be orange in the photo, so I'm not really ruining anything. So I'm going to leave that down, brighten it up again so it matches. So far, before, after, we've basically just lightened it to become a bit of a softer photo. Speaking of softness, I'm going to get rid of some of the clarity, because I think there can be a little bit too much punch and it's not a very commercial look. Yeah. I think that's a good start. I want to get rid of this little branch in the bottom, so I'm gonna use AI, because I think it works better, and just do a rough highlight over it. Hit enter, give it 5 seconds to work, and it works. Yeah. Nobody would know. I mean, it's not identical. But unless you know. Unless you saw it happen. Oh, when I go to YouTube, I can't see the chat live. Weird. But I can see the chat in OBS. Anyway, as long as I can see it somewhere. Test. Passed. Yeah, it works. All right. So here we go. I'm going to brighten whites a little bit. Same thing with the highlights. I want to go as bright as possible without like losing all the detail in this area here. Like now, if you move it around, you can see there is still, like if you look at a photo still, it's really hard to tell where the edge of the cloud is. But when you move it around, you see kind of the texture differences a little bit better. So that's usually how I judge. And they look okay to me. Looks fine. I kind of want to get rid of this hole, and I want to get rid of this line, but maybe I can do that in Photoshop instead of Lightroom. I also want to lift the car, so let's take the object. If you choose subject, sometimes it grabs things that you don't want it to grab, so I like to have a little bit more control. And I'm going to just generally find the car. This, for a commercial job, I wouldn't do. It works for something like this, but in a commercial product, I would actually go in and pen out the car specifically. So I'm just going to add back a little bit more contrast to the car. Not so much that it makes the car look like it's floating, but enough that the car pops a little bit without you realizing why it pops. And one way to blend that in is to sort of, where the car contacts the ground, you can just subtract, take a linear gradient, and push it up a bit. So it's not a huge difference, but before and after, it just sort of relates it to the ground a little bit better. I think it's a little bit too much, so let's go about here. And of course, it being a linear gradient, the higher up in the gradient you go, the softer the effect. So I think that's a pretty decent spot. I want to bring out some of the highlights in the car. I hate this line. What is this line? What is that? I don't know. I don't like it. I'm going to make some of these highlights pop. I could do this by dodging and burning, or dodging in Photoshop, but I'm going to stick to this and just go pretty, I don't know. There's no finesse to this. I'm just going to pop, lock it, drop it, so to speak. There you go. I'm going to do the same thing to the badge, the M2 badge. Actually, the M2 badge should be its own mask. There we go. So now it actually looks chrome. Because sometimes in photos, chrome can flatten out because it just sort of reflects. When you don't have movement, it just sort of reflects whatever it's pointed at. And it's not good enough for me. I'm going to do the same to the headlights just a little bit. Just so the headlights become this like more obvious detail. Maybe add some clarity. Just to make them pop a bit. Because headlights are the eyes of the car. Cool. So, this hole. Maybe we go to Photoshop and fix that. All right, are we happy with that for now? Yes, I'm going to hit Command E, and we're going to send it over to Photoshop. So far, so good. How we doing? Everybody good? Cool. I don't know if you guys were here for the streams I did a long time ago, but the difference in time that took is pretty wild. That was immediate on this new computer. Okay, I'm going to create a new layer. So any damage I do to this layer is undoable. And I'm going to hit J and use my patch repair tool just to get rid of these cracks or where like the concrete overlaps. And I'm going to just use generate fill. I'm not going to tell it to do anything. I'm just going to let it figure it out. You missed the 5-minute wait time. I do not. I definitely do not. Now our wait time is this. This is what we get to look forward to. That looks pretty convincing. I'm not going to change anything about that. So I'm just going to highlight both of them, hit Command E, and lock them in. And I'm going to do the same for this. Remember, these aren't photos that I'm sending to BMW. These are just photos. I'm going to try remove and see if that does anything different this time. And what I'm looking for success and failure is like the line here that it creates for the shadow. It has a tendency sometimes to fuck up that smooth line. So let's see if it gets it right this time. And we'll know in 3, 2, 1. I kind of fucked it up. Let's see our options. So here's an example of why generative fill needs a little bit of help. Generative fill can only make, I think it's like a 1080 image. And then what it does is it sort of expands that image to cover whatever it is you're shooting. So a lot of times if you're working on a big file and you're working on someplace that's super sharp, like the ground here, it can kind of fuzz it out, like you see here. When you zoom out far, it doesn't matter too much, but when you zoom in, like if that was on a poster or a billboard, that is useless. In fact, it's almost useless to me now. So what I'm gonna do is go back to here. I'm gonna try the old school way of just drag and drop. What is that? It kind of did better, except for whatever this is. So that's basically just like a smarter version of the sample brush. And this is a way that you can also tell if something has been doctored, is that now when you do that, you start to get patterns. Like this line being repeated in this line. So if you want to hide that, you just sort of go through each individual one, move it around, create a little bit of chaos, and then hopefully people don't recognize the patterns. But like human eyes are really, really good at picking up on patterns. So if you do that and you forget to fix it, the human eye it'll notice. I'm gonna go before and after just to see what this line looked like then. I'm gonna hit S, do the clone stamp tool. I'm just gonna I'm gonna make the stamp feathered, and I'm gonna bring it to about the size of whatever a feather of this line could match. Sample something near it, and then I'm gonna fill it in there. Just like that. So now, because I made that brush the exact same size of what the line and the shadow that was already there, can't really tell. So before, after. I mean, there's a little difference, but hey, we're not perfect. Now we are. Let's keep going. Let's get rid of some of these other distractions. This egg, or whatever this is, gone. For these really small ones, I don't use generative fill. I just highlight it, sample another spot, and get rid of it. For this one, this whole thing here, let's see how smart generative fill is. So it's not a very sharp part of the photo, so it shouldn't have too much trouble getting rid of it. I'm going to generative fill, remove, and let's just see. Let's see if we can be convinced. Usually if there's like a chaotic texture to whatever you're trying to remove, it can do pretty well if it's not super sharp. Let's see if it finishes the H for the helipad. Hey, look at that. Look how smart that is. Let's look at the options. That's even better. Yeah, let's stay with number 2. So, before, after. So, once again, we'll highlight both, hit Command E, and lock it in. So now the H for the helipad is finished. Ideally, I would just get rid of the entire H. You know what? Let's choose chaos. Let's see what happens. Let's push this system. It's not going to work, and I'm going to go back to whatever I already had. Because, once again, it can only make such a big sample photo to replace it with. So for something this big, it's going to stretch that photo, and it's going to look fuzzy and really weird. But just for shits and giggles, let's see. Let's start backwards, zoomed out, and see how convincing it is from like an Instagram size perspective. No, it's terrible. That's awful. No. All right. Let's pretend like that didn't happen. Sorry, Photoshop. I tried to let you shine a little bit. If this was like a commercial shoot that was paid for by BMW, I would remove the grass, because grass is supposed to be green, and it's not, because I took all the yellows and got rid of them. But so far so good. There's only like 2 more lines I want to remove. This one is one of them. Let's do it in sections. Oops. Forgot to choose my layer. Good enough. Oops, not good enough. Not good enough at all. Can use this as well, content aware fill. It's quick and does a better. What is happening here? Oh, there it is. Content aware fill opened up in a different window. There. Now we got it. did okay. It did okay. It's nothing to write home about, but whatever. Okay, let's just go for gold for the sake of finishing this before bedtime. I shouldn't have done that. I'm too anal for these things. Yeah, once again, you see the patterns like here. Let's just see if we can get rid of that a little bit by doing big broad strokes like that. And if it looks shitty, it's fine, but if it looks shitty over and over again in a pattern, then it's not fine. Because the human eye is good at detecting patterns. For this one, let's do another big section and let's use AI again. And just see if it can do better than I can, which I assume it can. Mutz is out. Thank you for being here, Mutz. There will be more of these. I appreciate you hanging out. Just trying to fix my microphone. It's getting a little bit tired. Yeah, good enough. Then let's keep doing. Let's keep doing. Cool. Cool English, Kyle. It's a good playlist. It's nice. Copyright free, low key, lo-fi beats. While that's doing that, I might save it. How do you save a playlist? I don't know. Hey, I figured it out. All right, I'm back. What happened? What did I miss? Yeah, well, let's stick to that. Good enough. Let's not get too anal about these cracks. So we've cleaned up a lot of the ground. Before, after. Yep, pretty good. Clean up a little bit of the car. I really want to get rid of the stripe, but it's asking for trouble. It's a very gradual gradient, and I think it's going to struggle a lot with replacing it, because usually with gradients, it kind of freaks out and adds too much complexity. And in doing so, it makes it unbelievable and terrifying. But some of like the rock chips and stuff we should get rid of. Oh, you know what? That's fucking not bad at all. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. Okay, then let's just go for gold. Oh my god, my hand is too unsteady, and I don't have my Wacom tablet. Not that I would use it. I use a mouse for 90% of my stuff anyway. Should we try a red light? Oh, when I play spooky horror games, this is what I'm going to use. There we go. We're back. Once again, that's relatively convincing. Oh. This is going to test my skills with the mouse. And I'm doing it in sections again, just to keep control over what actually gets changed. By the way, this is a very fun car. My full thoughts on the car will be in the final video, but yeah, general review. Very good car. Much more stable than I thought it would be. It is still very much a toy, very playful, but yeah, can be a weapon on the right road. That one's not so good, but it's better than having that ugly line right in the middle of the car. And then this last one. Remove, and we sit and we wait for AI to do its thing. I really want to get into more, I don't know, streaming and gameplays and just more of this in general. Okay, that's not so good anymore. But if I let that one go, then I should let that one go. This is why photos take me so long to edit. I mean, you can kind of see the evidence of the stripe all the way throughout the car, but once again, if we back out, I mean, this car isn't this isn't like a commercial photo. This is just sort of, I don't know, for fun, shits and giggles. So I should be less picky. What happened there? Oh, it's on a thing. So, merge all those layers. Good enough. But you guys see what I mean by the gradient when it has to deal with subtle gradients, that it kind of leaves this trace behind, and then you end up with like this dark worm going across the car. We can try it one more time, but I don't have much faith. Nah, for the sake of finishing before bedtime, let's do it one more time. Never mind. Who am I kidding? I'm gonna think about it forever. This time let's be a little more specific in our selection. Getting better with the mouse. What if we just... Yeah, that works much better. Alright. Good enough. Good enough. Okay, cool. So, this is where we are. We've removed a lot of stuff, a lot of really unnecessary details, a lot of clutter. Now let's see if we can clean up the photo with some colors. I'm going to add a little bit more punch to the photo by going to my library. If you've been here before, you know what it is. Cold blue steel. We're going to paint the entire photo with that, and we're going to soft light blend it back in. Gives us a very cold photo, but we have opacity at our control and we can fix it. So let's go slightly up and bring it back to opaque. Let's go 20%. That looks okay to me. That looks okay to me. Let's add a bit more. Let's add a bit more haze from this side of the photo. To do that, I'm going to go to brushes. Uh-oh. Where do my brushes go? There. I'm going to select a brush from one of my fog brushes, I think. Yeah, that's a good start. I'm just going to choose white, or I'm going to select, to make it blend in perfectly, it's nice to just use the eyedrop tool and select a color from within the photo. Let's make it as big as it goes. And then something like that. Let's fade it out of the photo so we don't have that really harsh line. And then select subject. Let it select the car. This doesn't need to be perfect. Get out of here. There you go. Okay. Select subject. So now it's got the car, or at least a rough equivalent of the car. And then let's remove that. Deselect. And then also remove some of the ground because I only really want it to be over water. So that just adds some direction to the light. See, pretty simple. Doesn't really do too much. Kind of blows out the photo on that side, but I can also like blend it back in by adding a mask from this side. Just kind of really soft. There we go. Nice. Plain and simple, relatively. And to blend that even better, I'm going to move it underneath our blue layer. If you want to clean up the ground a little bit, a little hack for that, at least something that works for me, is to take a linear gradient of white, just push it up kind of the opposite direction of where the sun's coming from, maybe a little bit less angular. Drop it all the way down to 0 and then slowly bring it back in. and it adds a little bit of haze that sort of pushes your eyes up to the middle of the photo. Once again, I'm going to select subject. It selects the car, and I'm going to hold Alt and mask that out. There we go. And then I'll take up a brush, soft round brush with a feathered edge. And I'm just going to try to just even it out, so the car doesn't look like it's floating, because you see underneath the wheel right now, kind of looks like it's floating because the shadow is too bright there. So something like that. It doesn't do much, but what it does do is push the eyes subconsciously closer to the car. Okay, and I think that's a pretty good place to be. We're going to hit Command S. We're going to save it back into Lightroom. This will take another 2 minutes. And in that time, we stretch. Oh, it was a nice day outside driving all day. How you guys been? What have you been up to? What was your day like? My day was this. Just driving, filming, shooting, driving. It's pretty nice. It's about all I could ask for, really. So, any tweaks that I want to make in here? Maybe a little bit more contrast. And to do that, I'm going to drop the blacks rather than punch up the whites, because the whites are already as bright as I need them to be. And you see, like, in the dark area here, it's kind of gray. It's kind of flat. I'm not a big fan of that. I want it to be a bit punchy. So I'm going to take the tone curve, the bottom of it, and I'm going to slide it further inward. And then I'm going to do a radial gradient. Shadows up, exposure up a little bit. And to bring back some of the details in the grill, I'm just going to put it right over top of the grill. So before, after. Very mild difference, but it makes quite a lot of difference. So there you go. There's our head-on shot of the BMW M2. There's the thumbnail edit. There's this edit. It's just a little bit punchier, a little bit cooler. I'm going to put that back to 2. This is the photo. Here's the original photo, the raw file straight out of camera. And then that's the final product. So we have a style now. This is where it starts. So now I just sort of copy paste it and tweak every other photo to match that. The hero photo is probably going to take just as much work, so I'm going to sit on that for a little bit. But let's do some of the details. Or this one. Let's give this one a little bit of a quick treatment. So it's way overexposed. Is this one better than when I tried to redo it at the end? Or is the redo better? The redo's kind of better, isn't it? But it's overexposed. It's way too bright. You know what? The more I mess with that photo, the less I like it. Let's just leave it. Let's leave it. That's not the photo for us. It's not the one we want. What about like one of these little sneak photos? Pretty chill. This one's kind of nice. It's nice having that much room over top of the car. This area here. Such subtle differences. Let's do this one. This one caught my eye. So I'm going to do number 2 just in case we lose it, so I can come back to it. I'm going to copy paste the editing, the base editing at least. Bring the exposure back down to what it was. All right, and I see a lot of area for improvement. First of all, it's not very punchy. The oranges ended up taking some of the headlights down with them. Or not the headlights, the taillights. So to make the car more recognizable to me, I'm just going to saturate the taillights. Just like that. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Nice. Okay. That's a good start. There's still some vignetting in the corners here. Why? Is there an easy way to get rid of that? Maybe some linear gradients? I don't like the anti-vignetting tool that Lightroom has built into it. Just because I think it just kind of adds a white layer. It doesn't really affect the photo the way I want it to. But that's, I mean, this is pretty convincing. Let's soften it up a bit. Do that, and then we'll just add another one to the other side. There we go. Now I need some direction in the light. So I'm going to add a radial gradient. From here, brighten it up. And then I'm going to try doing the opposite on the other side, but I have a feeling I'm not going to like it. And I was right. Not a fan. Let's bring out some of the greens. Again, I think we lost quite a lot of the greens when we pulled the yellow down. Mostly in this tree here. But I want them to be like green. Or at least that tree in particular. What about the cyans? Don't think I need to play with that too much. So let's hit that tree in particular. Just brush up the saturation a little bit. Not too much. Let's leave it there. Okay, cool. So far, so good. If I hit black and white, just to see the contrasts, looks pretty good. What happened here? Who knows? Who knows? Okay. Select object again. Let's hit the car, and let's try to put some punch back into the car. I'm going to use the clarity a little bit, but kind of sparingly. Dehaze is just going to darken the car. I need some more details on the side of the car. Raising the shadows, you have to be super careful because the edges of the car become like glowy. Like here. You see how the car kind of glows compared to the background. So you got to be a little bit careful with that. And that can work the opposite way, where you get like a dark glow sometimes. But I think that's a pretty good spot to be. Let's leave it there. Anything else you want to do with the car? Saturate it? No. Car's not blue. It's black. I can make it really black. Let's make it a little bit black. And then once again, let's take the taillight and let's bring that back since I desaturated the car a bit. Cool. No, we're not done with that yet. What am I doing? Command E, and we'll send it into Photoshop. So I'm just going to do more or less the same thing. I'm just going to grab this layer. Maybe not. Let's grab all of them. If we take all of these layers that we put on top of the last photo, then the photo is going to match a lot better. I'm going to get rid of the layer mask, though, on each of them. Actually, this one might be pretty close. Nope. Let's leave that on. And since we are shooting through something in the foreground, we can make the bottom gradients a little bit brighter. Just as like a haze from the sun or something reflecting off the rock. Let's go to about there. It looks a bit goofy if you've seen the whole kind of production. One thing I don't like is the color of the grass. It looks super fake. Right? Or are we too far now to fix it? I don't really want to go back in time. Let me just see what it looks like if I brush it back in the original, in Lightroom. Yeah. I'm going to take a risk. What I'm going to do is assume that there's enough information in the photo still after Photoshop that I can just brush back in some color. Who knows? Could work, could not work. We need to get a better chair for this streaming room. This chair is rough. What else do I want to do? I can show you another technique that kind of helps to I'm not going to clean up the ground too much, just a little bit. Things like this rock. I want a rock. It's gone. And anything obvious in the paint of the car. Things that just sort of disrupt what is supposed to be a patternless area. Look at the winter tires. What am I doing driving cars on winter tires? There we go. There we go. And then this, it looks like something rubbed up against it. Once again, I don't want to do too much. I just want to do the big spots where it kind of distracts from the actual look of the car. That works for me. Then on this mask, this layer, I'm going to double it and give it to the next guy. No. I'm going to... This I can't really explain very well, but I'm going to try to. We're going to apply the image to make a darker version of it, essentially. Stick with these settings. And then we're going to add a Gaussian blur of about 20. Let's go 20. And then we're going to screen blend that. So now it's super soft. It looks like we're looking through Vaseline. Go to 0, and we're going to slowly reintroduce that just to give the photo a bit of a softer, more commercial feel. Before, after, before, after, before, after. Not a huge difference, but let's go to 16. Whatever. Good enough. So, Command S. And while that's saving, I just want to change this just to see what would happen. Ooh, it's kind of nice, a little bit more rich. Yeah, let's do it. Let's turn up the opacity on this blue layer up to 35. And then Command S will save it again. It's a very cold photo. But I like me a cold photo. There goes my water. Now I'm gonna die of thirst. And then let's see if there's any information in that little patch of grass. We're gonna hit the saturation and just sort of brush over it, and nothing happens. There's no information. All right, I kind of screwed myself. Let's just... looks like trash. I mean, as a black and white photo, that's pretty cool. Got me thinking all kinds of things. Let's rate it like that. And what we can do, just to remind myself to look at it again later, make it black and white. Do a really quick edit. Let's select the sky. That looks like trash. But you're going to see in a second where I'm going with this. Let's create a mask, a subtraction mask. And just give the sky a little bit more detail and direction in the lighting. Not too much. Well, I say not too much, but it's a ton. It adds quite a lot of grain to the photo too. Because when you do the dehaze, it kind of punches everything up. But hey, whatever. You only live once, right? And try to brighten up the rest of the photo a little bit. This is going to be a placeholder. Just to remind myself to come back to it later. Okay, so original photo. Is that after grade? That. Just a little bit brighter, a little bit cooler, a little bit simpler. Okay, on to the next one. This might be the cooler black and white photo. Nah, let's do a detail. Let's do this. The front wheel and front fender. Look at the like depth of the paint. It's kind of nice. Just looks like grain. I mean, Is the photo fully? Yeah, it is. Weird. Kind of plays weird on camera. I don't need to do much more than that for a detail like this. Maybe just add some more punch. And then soften up the background and the foreground a bit so it's less distracting. No, we're going to do that in Photoshop. Get out of here. Command E. We're going back in Photoshop. This is where we belong. It's where I live. Get out of here. There you go. Cool. Actually, do we want to get rid of the crack in the concrete? Yes. I'm going to give it a lot of room to breathe because it seems like it kind of gets darker around the edges. So let's see how good of a job Photoshop can do without my help. And then if it messes it up, I'll go back. Whew. It's been a long day. I'm feeling kind of tired. So it's nice to be chilling on stream and editing some slow photos with you guys. That's okay. No one's gonna notice, right? Who's gonna know? No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. looks like Dookie. It looks like Dookie. See, now you see my point. Like down here where it's blurry, totally fine. It's okay that it has that limitation. But once you go up here to where everything's sharp, dang, that's gross. So let's do this. Let's just sample another area with a similar focus plane. And now we should have, the only problem is the edges look kind of, oh, that made it worse. Okay, deselect, we're gonna take the sample brush, or clone stamp, and we're just gonna get rid of some of these fuzzy parts. And it's better than it was. Better than it was. Okay, cool. Let's add our color blue in, because we want all the colors to match. Soft light blend, we'll go back to 0, and then we'll go up until it feels unnatural. And that's pretty close to it, actually. 25. Not going to go up any more than that. And then we'll take some white gradients behind. For one, we're going to select the car, select subject, and then mask that out. There you go, just so it sort of separates the background of the car a little bit, pushes the car more toward the foreground. Just about 20%, and then we're going to do the same underneath it. That we don't really need to separate the car. That's pretty good. Nice. Not so complicated. Pretty easy shot. Actually, I think the top one is a little bit much. Let's put that at 12. That means we got to save it again because we changed something while we were saving. Ooh. Ooh. I think I'm only going to do... Oh, the camera's about to overheat. That's cool. That's fun. Let's see. How long have we been going? Over an hour. Damn. All right. That went fast. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. Let's go for like a really... Let's do two more. Let's do this one, and then we'll do this. Let's start with this detail shot, because this one's going to be pretty quick. Bring back... We just copy paste, bring back the exposure. Make it colder. Could be cool in black and white as well. Like, I mean, It's going to take me years to clean up this paint, but I'm not going to. I'm going to add some dehaze back into it to give it some more punch. Something in there. And then make the lettering a little more punchy. Up close, it looks a bit overexposed, but when you back out, it's just going to make it feel a little more chrome. Just a little bit more. It draws your attention a little bit better. And speaking of drawing your attention, we'll move this into Photoshop by hitting Command E again. And then we'll keep going with that same ethos. Why is that toolbar keep coming up? Where we take lighter gradients as if we're shooting through something or getting like a crazy heavy glare at the bottom. And we're just gonna soften up the bottom, basically. Are you allowed to say that on YouTube? Soften up the bottom? We'll never know. Same thing, but we don't want these to be completely white, so as always, we're going to get our blue, highlight the whole thing, soft light blend, and then we'll bring it to about here. See, these, actually, I don't appreciate that they're strictly white. I wish they're slightly blue, but I didn't think about that at the time. So I'm just going to make them less obvious because I don't want to go back in time and do it again. And that to me seems like a decent place to be. Ooh, I see something in the paint that could use some help. Some of these reflections. Yeah, that was pretty easy. But once again, oh, that was not easy. Once again, you're seeing some of these patterns again, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's because it's sampling things around there. So we're just going to get rid of those so nobody noticed that I sampled stuff on the photo. And it looks good enough. If you look super close, it's kind of nasty, but no one's going to. So we save that and we head back into Lightroom. Yay. Make sure you guys stretch. Stretch a lot, drink your water. Oh, a little bit stiff today. Yesterday was chest day. So my upper body's a little bit worn out. Cool. Now let's do this one. To finish it off, it's going to be very bright, so cover your eyes. Bring the exposure down to what I've had it at. This looks better with a little bit more color, and it's also kind of crooked. So I'm not gonna soften this one up too much because the colors and everything and all the light is so soft in camera. But I am gonna keep it relatively bright. And even brighten up from where the sun is. Even though we know the sun is coming from out of frame at this top corner, or like above the photo. In the photo, you kind of believe that the lighting source is here. So even though it wouldn't reflect back up to the sky, I'm gonna make it look like it does because it feels natural when you're looking at the photo. We lose some detail in the water, but to combat that, I'm going to hit it with the subtract, bring back in the water. So there we go. Before, after, before, after. You lose a little bit of detail, but not all of it, because you see you still have this line here. And you still see the horizon up until here. But whatever, it's good enough for us. Black and white, just to see the exposure, see how we're doing. Doing okay. I'm going to lighten up the other side of the photo and see if I can balance it, see if that feels right. I'm going to darken it to see if that feels right. Trial and error. That's how we're doing this. It feels better to brighten it. A little bit softer. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll send it into Photoshop. We'll put on final color grade. I gotta sit up. I keep slouching because it's more comfortable. These chairs are terrible. There you go. Soft light blend. We'll go back to 0 and then we'll slowly bring it up until we're happy. Yeah. Right about there. It's not much, but if we want something in between all the other photos just to sort of give you the vibe of like a seaside town that kind of chill, is a good way to do it. And let's soften up the bottom of it. Just create like a more dreamy. We should invest in a gaming chair. You'd be better at editing. No. Maybe if a gaming chair company invested in us. I'm going to do something risque. I'm going to copy paste this layer and then I'm going to connect it to this white layer underneath. And it doesn't do anything. All right, cool. That was fun. Cool experiment. So Command S, we'll save it. We need better chairs than these. I know that much. These are terrible. But if we had like a chair sponsor, that'd be nice. That would be nice. And that's not a very complicated grade. It's pretty simple. So before, after. There you go. Let's look at our photos. We did 5 photos. Wow. Here's the hero photo. We're gonna go full screen. Yeah. Straight on, mean. Car looks lean and aggressive. The rear quarter shot. Oh man, now all I can see is this. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go ahead and fix that before we call it a day. There we go. AI, don't mess this up, please. Don't embarrass me in front of my friends. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Okay, so there it is. The rear quarter shot. Kind of fun, dreamy. Kind of a fantasy landscape with colors. This shot. Now that I look at it, when I took down the blues, I meant only to really do the sky and the reflections on the car and the water, but I didn't mean to do like the brake caliper. So I'm gonna bring that back in because I know that's meant to be like a richer blue. So let's just paint that black in. Let's just paint that back in. Small detail, but it does a lot. Same with the sky in the logo, which is a sky, and the white is a propeller because they used to make airplane engines. And how many times have you been told that fun fact? If the answer was 0, now you know. There you go. Very nice. Last photo we edited, the ambient kind of vibey photo. And then this one. I don't like that this flattened out. Yeah, I mean, this is stupid, adding haze in Photoshop and then getting rid of haze afterwards, but I never claimed to be smart. Yeah, makes it more realistic. And then the final detail, the badge. So, as the music winds down, so do I. Let's go back to full screen. Oh, it's me. Oh, no. Thank you guys very much. This, it's going to happen a lot more. It's going to happen a lot more. I like being here. This is a good time. Just quick hour and a half, 2 hour long streams where we edit together and hang out. We just, vibe. And for those of you who work in the office with me, happy to have you here in the passenger seats. And yeah, continue editing. Nice to see you again. Long time no see. The dad jokes are... We got to end it before the dad jokes get too strong. Anyway, thank you guys very much. That's it for me. There will be more of this. Look forward to the BMW M2 video, which Mats is editing right now. Yeah, share, comment, whatever. Who cares?